I'm Xyla.
And I'm Jen.
And this podcast has a name.
And also a topic.
And today's topic is first impression. But before we talk about that, you should know that on this podcast, we don't know what we're doing, but we're having fun. You're very welcome to join us. And one day we'll have a catchphrase to include here. This podcast also has a catchphrase. But before we jump in, Jen brought up a very good point that it has been a whole month since our last stream/podcast recording. And we should do goods and bads of the month. So, overexposed Jen, what have your goods and bads been?
Yeah, sorry.
The second you opened the Google Doc, it illuminated your face.
That is exactly what happened.
The fact that dark mode's not available for Google Drive.
I fucking hate it, bro.
Yeah. Future audio listeners who are bound to be listening to this in the future, you'll have to use your imagination that Jen was glowing ethereally from the screen in front of her.
More than usual.
Yes, yeah, obviously. Goes without saying.
What did you want from me?
Highs and lows.
Highs and lows.
Goods, bads.
Well, let's start with the bad, because then we just get it out of the way and then we can end on the good.
Yeah.
Bads. Panic attacks. I was gonna say part 2, but it's more like part 12, Electric Boogaloo. Happened again. Sucked. Had a surprise medical bill that happened, and that was very rough. But I have a very awesome, supportive partner who helps me through those things, and it ended up being totally fine. Partner had his first panic attack. That was also not a very fun time, but we got through it. Leading into the goods is that partner had his first panic attack, but partner is officially getting therapy.
Therapy hype.
Yeah, we were doing it together because he's like not against it. He just like wasn't ready to do it on his own, and now he is, and we're very excited and very proud. I got a new job.
Yay, new job! Hi.
A raise.
Yay.
And the position was like basically made for me, which feels so weird and like the hella imposter syndrome. Like I definitely do not deserve it, but I am choosing to ignore those feelings. This is a paintbrush. And sorry, I'm holding a paintbrush. I'm like, my brain doesn't want to do things. You have one too.
I also have a paintbrush.
That is really funny. Anyway, God, we're the same fucking person. I'm just feeling really supported at work, and my boss was like, at one point she was like, I don't know how long we can make this position work, but I want to talk to you and get a feel for where you're at and kind of where you would want to go next if we don't end up keeping this position, because, quote, we don't want to lose you. Instead of like, you don't want to like lose your job or anything. It was like, we don't want to lose you. And that felt really good.
High praise. I mean, it's also, I think, jarring to adjust to feeling so well supported in a job when you have had the opposite experience previously.
Yeah.
So I think that's like totally valid and fair. I will say, since I get the inside scoop, this new position has been such a roller coaster. It sounded like an easy shoe-in thing at the beginning, and then just like having it go back and forth and up and down and waiting this and waiting that, and one person saying this, one person saying that, and this letter and that letter, and all of that jazz. I'm just so glad it's finally over for you and that it was a positive outcome, because not knowing is so stressful when you're waiting for big important news about something.
Yeah. Yeah. Long story short about that is like, my manager sent the job posting to me, said, apply for this. I applied for it. She said, we're basically only doing interviews to say that we did them. So we're setting up an interview for you. I interviewed. The next day, I got a rejection letter from the company that was not my boss. And so when I told my boss that I had gotten a rejection letter, she was very upset and didn't know about it. And then it was like another 2 weeks before I finally got like an unofficial offer, and then I got my official offer yesterday.
In
And
your
my
fancy
official
new office?
well, it's not like it's just a different room in the building,
Fancy
but
new secret room.
yeah, and I can't have my phone in there, but I'm also only like 2 cubes away from Gary, which is very cute.
Do you like have a code where you knock through walls and like send each other secret messages like offline?
No, because we just talk on Facebook Messenger all day.
Oh, right.
Also, he'll probably just like yell over the cube.
I'm imagining the scene from The Incredibles. I'm sorry, ma'am. I know you're upset. Go put it in your set. Farewell, friend, coworker.
Yeah. So I don't know. It helps that everybody like knows that we're together because we were together when I worked in this place before. So everybody knows that we're together, and everybody like I think honestly at my workplace people see us as like, I hope this doesn't sound like I'm fucking full of myself, but I think people see us as like a fucking power couple
Oh no,
because
totally, you are.
between the two of us, like we are the people that people go to at work when they need shit done and need it done in a timely manner. And that feels so good.
I mean, you're preaching to the former choir because I really do think we're touching on a gem of a future podcast episode, which is workplace relationships.
Yeah.
We have maybe episode 3. Maybe that's what we'll do next month because both of us would be like, oh yeah, no, don't date your coworkers unless you're us, because for us it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
But no one else should.
Yeah. Okay, Xyla's turn.
Okay, so I actually have good news about my good news, which is that when Jen proposed this, I couldn't off the top of my head think of any bad news, which is a new feeling, new sensation. Not sure how I feel about it, but I think it's worth noting and celebrating a little bit. For my bad, there's all this dental issues that are been going on and been pervasive, and I will say you the yucky details. But I was in a huge amount of searing pain for a very long time, and it spiked to the point where I like couldn't see properly, and I thought I was going to maybe die, but turns out it was just my nerve severing. That's all. And part of my tooth fell out. So it's technically a bad thing because teeth aren't supposed to do that or whatever. But now my tooth doesn't hurt because it fell out. The other bad is that I did apply for insurance coverage through work, which is very exciting because they ended my probation early. And the application is just still processing. And I was told it would take a few days, and it's been 2 weeks. So that's my bad. And even that is not that bad. So my bad is good. You know, that's how it is.
There's bright sides and whatnot.
Yeah, which is interesting because I'm very used to not seeing those or choosing to ignore them. My good is that I am just really grateful this month, like in this last month of February, despite it being absolutely unexpectedly batshit insane, and crazy and chaotic and just shockingly full of things when it seemed like it'd be a really empty, chill, relaxed month, kind of between January and March. I've been really appreciating the time I've been able to spend with my family again, especially my brother, who, if you knew here or you don't remember, he's a whole decade younger than me. So he just turned 17. He's in 11th grade. He's playing on his school's varsity basketball team. And Nate and I have been able to make it out to some of his games and tournaments and stuff. And cheer him on has been super awesome. And it's just really nice to be able to connect with him again in like real life. And yeah, I'm just really thankful for that. So even though it's been busy, it's been a good busy. And hey, basketball season will be over eventually, so it'll be slightly less chaotic after that. I'm also really thankful for Nate, who is on his way home right now. But we celebrated our 3-year anniversary in September, except here's the catch, we didn't celebrate it. We were still very broke from the double moves. I was still working at the Mermaid Coffee Shop who was basically forcing me to starve while working for them. And things were just like really rough for both of us. And so we said, we'll procrastinate it, we'll postpone. And it ended up postponing not by a couple weeks or a few days or a month, but 6 months. So we ended up celebrating our 3.5 anniversary. And we had some all you can eat sushi less than a 5-minute walk away from our house. And the snow was coming down all like big, fluffy, and beautiful that night. It was very picturesque and very lovely. And it was so nice to be able to do that. And it was really great. And I also went back to therapy because I was able to afford it for the first time in a long time. Yeah, good old therapy pipe. Those are my goods.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you are no longer having to choose between rent and eating.
Me too, bud. you and me both. Yeah. I love quitting a job and they ask why are you leaving and I'm saying because you're racist and also I'm starving being my two main reasons.
Yeah. And you're literally not giving me the hours that I ask for.
And that you legally signed a document agreeing to give me. Yeah, all that jazz, not happening. Super awesome, love it. It's one of those things where I'm having a hard time feeling comfortable because it feels like the other shoe's gonna drop. Which makes no sense and is not logical, but I think can feel that way anyway a lot of the time, especially since last time, like when Nate and I first got together, we were both like very well off, even though I had like a very moderate job and he had a good job. I had savings and a lot of my debt was gone, and Nate had a lot of his debt gone, and tons of savings plus life savings, and all those were good things and good numbers. And then over the course of the last few years, that getting chipped away, and with the pandemic coming out of nowhere, we went from like a honeymoon phase of just like all of this extra spending and like leisure money room to oh, no groceries this week, that's okay. And so I'm now that we're kind of coming back, not to like an exorbitant spending place, but just a place of stability and security. Now that we're returning back to that, there's still a part of me that's nervous that like, you know, pandemic 2 or something like crazy and earth-shattering will happen again that will set us back more. And I need to tell that voice to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
A shadow. Jen's being haunted by a Gary. We were supposed to have really cold weather today, and it turned out to be a lovely spring day. By spring day, I mean -10.
It was like actually a lovely spring day here. Like it was in the like I don't know what it is Celsius, but it was in like the 50s Fahrenheit, which is
above zero.
Yes.
You had a melting day.
But it was warm. I was not wearing a jacket. There was like sunshine.
March is a scary month. We're coming into March because it is the biggest bait and switch in the whole goddamn Canadian world, because it'll start to thaw. Like daylight savings around the corner, right? So like daylight savings are coming. We're going to like, you know, get more daylight and things are melting, and then blizzard. Like 9 times out of 10.
It was about 14 degrees Celsius today.
That's a hot day.
Not hot.
That is warm.
It's like spring. Yeah.
Okay, I think of spring like things are melting, but it's still somewhat chilly. Like, you know, when like the wind is blowing, and the moment when the wind isn't cold blowing and it's warm blowing, you're like, summer's around the corner. Hell yeah, it's warm. But our wind is cold as fuck. So as long as the wind is still cold, it's spring.
Okay, fair.
It's fascinating to me that although we are vertically aligned in the earth, our weather systems could not be more different sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. We went back and found out when we first like met, the first day that I jumped in her chat.
Yes, we scrolled back. Well, I scrolled back. We went through my moderation settings and found our friend anniversary, aka the first date Jen spoke in my life. It was very nostalgic, but that's kind of how we ended up on the topic of today's podcast episode was first impressions. I told Jen this yesterday, but I will repeat it again because it is funny. It never once occurred to me that Jen was not a man for like a long time. Okay, so like we're talking like over 2 years ago now, right? 2 years ago January, and Genthar_prime appears in my Twitch chat for the first time. I'd only been streaming for a very short amount of time, and I had already had creeps DMing me saying, "You're my girlfriend now." And something about that made me automatically assume everyone was a creep unless they proved themselves otherwise. When someone popped in for the first time, and it wasn't someone I knew from my real life that my mom sent over, to watch. And so because that was my new default setting, never occurred to me. Jen kept coming back, and then me saying Genthar Prime fully over and over and over got shortened to Genthar. And then after I had shortened it to Genthar, my brain cog slowly started turning to realize that maybe Jen being part of Genthar was intentional.
Wild concept.
Yeah. And then I remember seeing Jen for the first time and going like, "Oh, you're so pretty, cool, and fun." And then the more we get to know each other, the more it's like, "Oh yeah, you're definitely not a strange creep on the internet. You're my best friend." And also, I would love to point this out. I don't know if I've told you this before, Jen, so buckle up. I've had to multiple times convince my close but extended family members that you are not a scammer, that you exist and are real. That you and Gary are not trying to rob us or make any demands or steal our information and sell it to China. we had planned to go to San Diego. Obviously it fell through because it's all Starbucks' fault is the answer. We were going to go to San Diego. We're getting all our ducks in a row for that. And I was telling my family about it. And they were like, "Oh, you better be careful. You're meeting people online from the internet." And I was like, "Yeah."
Have you taken an Uber ever?
No, actually, I haven't.
Yeah, I've had that before. It's mostly my family gets it, like my close family gets it, but like anyone older or like coworkers that don't have any internet presence do not. They do not understand. And like luckily my therapist does, but when I say, "Oh yeah, my friend who lives in Canada," and they're like, "How did you meet somebody in Canada?" And I was like, "Internet." And they're like, "Are they real?"
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, the internet is not what it was in 2002. So
What, you mean that we're not just MSN Messenger friends, that we're friends?
yeah, I remember very vividly one stream of yours where it was before you had a face cam, but you were kind of info dumping about like your life story and your divorce and everything, and I was like, we literally have so much in common. It's almost scary.
Yeah, I think that was our first true bonding moment, was our
Well, and the
relationship
fact that
trauma.
well, and the fact that we're also so close in age, it's like, hold on. Are we actually just like separated at birth? We would have to have very different parents because I'm significantly taller than you.
I was gonna say, like, we are identical in every way except maybe physical. We have very, very few physical similarities.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, all the same parts are there, but like totally different Lego sets. We're both white. There's that.
Yeah.
We're both very pale.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember when we were scrolling through the messages, I remember back in the day where we were able to watch each other's streams while at each other's work. because
Yes.
I
Well,
would.
because I worked from home and
Yes.
you were at the restaurant, but you were in the back, so you
Yes.
didn't have to like interact with anybody.
Those were good days, and now I get that day every day at my new job. I'm just always in the back.
But you like it that way.
I do. Honestly, today was a blur, and I'm so happy. Like, it wasn't a scary kind of dissociation. It was like, oh, day's over. Okay, leaving. Like, oh, I didn't even notice the sunrise. Time to go home. Actually, that's a
Yeah.
lie. The sun was rising as I was getting off the bus, like coming over the horizon. I hadn't seen that before. Very exciting. But I would watch your streams at work. It was so comforting to have someone I didn't hate in the room with me, because that's the thing. I wasn't a huge fan of the people I was working with, other than Nate. Obviously, he was the best. But I was
Yeah.
like, man, I got a buddy. I'm not so alone. And you played a bunch of games I had never like heard of before or seen before, so I was being educated at the same time. That was fun.
Really? I remember getting into Stardew.
Yeah. Well, there was also the Stardew ones where you would be like, hey, thanks for being here. Please don't judge me. Oh God, it's terrible. I'm sorry. And I'm like, bro,
Oh yeah,
relax.
and I was like, how do I make money?
And then I would tell you, go, okay, instead I'm going to build some path.
Yeah.
Which,
I'm not what you would call a strategist.
see, there's a difference we had. Are there any other like significant first impressions in your life that like you can recall, just like in general, that have left an impact?
Yeah, what this is actually really funny. When Gary first started at work, uh just the way that he dressed was like super preppy, and his haircut was super preppy, and I mean he's tall and he's a good looking dude, and when he typically is interacting with women, he is a mix of like just friendly, and then at that point he just seemed full of himself. He just seemed like a douche.
Eh.
But I still had a crush on him, and so I was mad about it.
You wanted that bad boy energy in your life.
But he's so sweet. Like he's so sweet. Ugh. Anyway, so there's that one.
That's funny, actually. I didn't know that.
Oh really? Yeah. I mean, I was going through like a pretty bad depression at that point in my life, so I'm pretty sure Gary's first impression of me was like, is she okay? But not in like a mean way, mostly just like, it is kind of evident that you haven't washed your hair in a while.
Yeah.
Which happens when you're sad.
Ain't
Let's
that
see
the
what
truth?
else. Because I think I'm the one that leaves weird first impressions mostly.
I
Like,
also live that way.
yeah, so I have a friend that I made in the army, and we weren't like super close, but one day I literally just went to her like barracks room and I knocked on the door and I was like, "Hey, I'm driving to San Diego. Come on." And she got in my car and we went to San Diego. And I just like forced her to interact with me and be my friend. And now she jokes that I'm like her, like that is how she made friends, is that she was an introvert and then an extrovert just kind of like adopted her and forced her to do things, which sounds not good.
That's crazy.
But now it's super funny because I do not consider myself an extrovert now.
That's
like
why it's so funny.
Extrovert.
Because if you described me to described that scenario to me, I'd assume that you were the introvert in that situation who was adopted by a social butterfly.
Yep.
That's really funny.
Yeah, well, because that was how her and I made friends, and then my other friend, he, I don't even remember what was going on, but I was like, "Hey, come get food with me," and he was also an extrovert, so he was just like, "Okay," and then we were like inseparable after that, and I'm totally different now, and I don't know what did it, but pretty sure we. Actually, yes, that's very true. You know what? That's a good one. So it wasn't the very first impression, but once I started to get to know Loretta a little bit better, we had choir together, and she would sit there and like fall asleep to like screamo metal during choir, and everyone could hear it through her headphones,
That's
and
hilarious.
it was really funny. And our choir teacher was like Wendy Green. Wendy Green was super Christian, and so I'm pretty sure she just found it like morally offensive. And
Wait till
that
she
was
realizes Miss Green, Christian metal exists. Christian
yeah.
screamo is a whole other breed.
So that wasn't like a first impression for Loretta because we were also in marching band together, but
But you raise a good point, though. I think sometimes our first impression of someone is not actually the first time we meet someone.
that's true.
I know for myself, the first time I meet someone, nothing happens. There's no reaction, no effort at all on my part. I'm a bad person. No effort on my part
You're
to
not a
remember.
bad
No,
person.
listen, objectively, I would be considered a bad person. There's no effort for me to remember their face, their name, anything they tell me about themselves in the first interaction. Like, I have no reason to believe that anyone I meet ever is going to stay in my life for any amount of time under any circumstances ever. And so I don't expend any energy to retain anything. So for me, it's very like entertaining and also draining, but enjoyable in an enjoyable way for me to sit and try to think and remember about the very first time I met someone, because like 80% of the time I have not a damn clue. That I have people in my life who I'm like, oh yeah, you're here now, and like we have a relationship and we connect and it's awesome, and then I'm like, I think like, how did we get here? No idea. Most of the time, no clue. There was a situation where I was volunteering at a vacation Bible school for my grandparents' Anglican church, and I did this every summer. And it was just kind of like a little 1 week thing. I would go and help because I had expertise in the area and they're a very, very tiny little church. So I go and I went to help. And this girl, like my age, runs, like sprints, doom, 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 runs up to me, gives me a massive fucking hug and goes, holy shit, Tegan! Which, Tegan's my middle name. I went by Tegan until I was in like 7th grade or something. I was like, oh my god, I miss you so much, how's it been? I had not a clue who this person was. I didn't know their name. I didn't remember their face. Nothing. But I was like, like, I'm playing it off. I'm a theater kid, so I was playing it off. And like I never let on at all, and I like used my sleuthing to figure out who they were, whose grandchild it was, and apparently we were excellent, best, closest friends in the whole wide world last summer. And like,
But it's such a small blip in time
and
that your brain is just like, and purge.
yeah, I still enjoyed their presence, and like I didn't say anything, I didn't do anything, and we just like had fun. Like, yeah, this is great. This is my best VBS friend, and we had a blast. And then there was a wrap up party after the week closed down, and I had been eaten from the inside out, like pervasive acid, with guilt about not remembering her at all. And I decided at the wrap up pool party I was going to bring it up so that I could clear my conscience, but I had like very clearly calculated it to be like, as a joke, be like, you want to know something funny? Ha ha ha. I totally didn't remember you at first. Isn't that funny? And I did this. I did. And then she got really mad and didn't talk to me ever again. And she wasn't there the following year anyway. So it worked out. You know what's funny though? I remember her name now. It was Stephanie. Maybe it wasn't. But my brain is telling me that it is. Because as soon as I said it out loud, all confidence went out the window. But like it's just an example of how like my first impression is not really a first impression. My first impression is like, man, if I have a first memory of you, you're blessed. Like good job.
Man, that's wild.
I also relate to Loretta in that most people think I'm mean when they first meet me. It's because if I'm not masking, I look like I've meditated multiple murders at all times.
See, my issue is that I have resting nice face. Instead of
Really?
resting face, I have resting nice face. Do you not think so? I've always been that person that, like, out in public, anybody that's like, okay, so in our gym, there are vendors that will be there sometimes, and they'll like try to flag people down and try to be
Like
like, "Oh,
selling
look what
popcorn and
I'm."
pretzels and hot dogs and stuff? Like what?
Not like that, but stuff like there was a chiropractor there one time. There's like people who sell like CBD stuff that they just like set up little tables and they like try to get people's attention as they're coming in and leaving the gym.
Your gym sounds lit, fam.
But I mean, they'll always like I will accidentally make eye contact with them, and then they'll just like they know just by looking at my face that I will like let them talk to me. And this has always been the case. And like if I'm out somewhere, like I'm the person that'll be like, "Oh my gosh, will you take our picture?" Or like, "Is anyone sitting here?" And then they'll like start a whole conversation with me. I was on a plane one time, and this old ass man just started like chatting me up,
Not the ass man.
and and but he was like he tried to buy me drinks, but the guy that was the flight attendant didn't end up charging me, which was cool anyway. But yeah, I think Gary just messaged and said he didn't agree, which maybe I've also changed in that sense.
Maybe. Nate just got home and informed me that I did leave the stove on this whole time. There's nothing on
Right.
it.
The
Like,
rice is warm. Oh,
no,
damn
no,
it.
no, no, no. Because that would have burned, like, for sure. I moved it off the element. The reason why it's dangerous because I have a daisy.
Ah, yes. Gary said, I don't really agree, sweetheart. You've had some intense RBF before. Love you.
Before. Okay, but what's the default, though? And also the default can change. Here's my question for you, though, as a nice face person. Do you ever try to intentionally make yourself not appear that way so that you don't get spoken to? And how does
Yes.
that go for you?
Yes, I do. And typically, when I do that, I will channel like an inner like bad bitch, and so I won't. So usually when I'm walking around, I'm like la 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 la, and I'll be looking down.
Big Hufflepuff energy, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, if I'm trying to do that, or if I'm trying to look angry or focused, I'll like have extra good posture, like pop them titties out and
Like
like,
shoulders back,
yeah.
spine extended.
And sometimes it does work and people will look away. But other times people just like maintain eye contact with me and they're like, and I don't like that either. So
See, here's the thing. When I like something, I aggressively like that one thing. Like people, TV shows, foods, doesn't matter. I hyper focus on everything in my entire life. So when I did finally find uh, an adult beverage that I liked, that I thought tasted good, and still got that little bit of a buzz going, I only ordered that for like the full 2 years, the pandemic.
yeah.
And I still stand by it. And Nate buys me now for Christmas a Xyla-sized bottle of peach schnapps and a Xyla-sized bottle of vodka so that I can make my own at home.
That is very sweet.
It lasts me like a whole year, if not more. I think I have two tiny bottles because I still didn't finish last year's before he got me this one. That's how infrequently I partake. The same though is for me with coffee. Even though I've baristaed multiple times in my adult life, I have coffee and I know lots about it. But I do not make it for just myself. Ever. And Nate can't have it either because of his guts.
Yeah.
And so when I have people over is when I'll be like, oh, there's a bottle of rosé that's been in my fridge for a month, or oh, I could put on some coffee. Both of those things happen because there's people over. I think it's a slippery slope as well, drinking with solitude. I know that, like, said drunken night for me, I was currently being housed at my grandparents' with my aunt who's 36.
Older than you.
Older than me, but young, and my other aunt who was going through divorce the exact same time as me. And my grandma, who keeps a stash of Mike's Hard Lemonades in her basement at all times of the year, no matter what.
Hell yeah.
My grandpa and the pets were there too. Bless his heart. Bless his heart for putting up with this gaggle of gaggle of tipsy chicks. And we played so much Monopoly, and we were so tipsy. And wow, I love Palm Bays. I learned that summer. Palm Bays. And I tried every flavor. I don't like the grapefruit. That shit sucks. But all the other ones, amazing. And we would have like at least 3 a night. And if I hadn't eaten enough that day or during, I was like immediately tipsy.
Ugh.
And I had just, here's the thing though, I had just, like, like going through a divorce. I'd never been dumped before in my entire life. This was a long-term relationship. I was going through processing lots of feelings. And that was one of the ways I was doing that. And at the exact same time, one of my close girlfriends just started going to AA because she was gone way too far down using that as a coping mechanism to deal with her breakup that she had just had. And so that was all happening at the same time. And then the closest thing I've ever been to hungover was like the morning after Nate and I drunk texted each other our love. And even then, I felt fine after a couple hours, so I don't think I was actually hungover, but I felt like the most shit I've ever felt after drinking. And after that, I was like, okay, so it clouded my judgment. It took away this conversation I would have loved to have had, like, sober and of my own, full, like, I would have loved to be fully there for that conversation, and I don't want to go down that path, and so I cut back. I still enjoy a Pombe, and I will absolutely drink wine to get through every family gathering I have to go to, for sure. But, like, I'm not strong either way, you know what I mean? I'm not anti-alcohol, and I'm not drinking every night, because I know a lot of people who will, they think it's really casual, just like always have beer and wine in their fridge, and just like have something every night, and I'm not that person either.
My mom has a drink or two every night, and like medically that would be considered alcoholism, but she doesn't get drunk every night. However, every family function people are drunk, including so it's like there's a balance.
It exists. Nate's town that we were living in, that he grew up in, there's nothing to do other than drink. Talk about first impressions. Almost every single person I ever met that was a friend of Nate's there, we would show up at the party and they'd already be multiple drinks in. Like, I don't know if they would remember me, even if I had the same haircut, you know? It was all that was going out. All that was going out over there. That's it.
Yeah. No, I drank a lot when I was in the Army, but it ended pretty much as soon as I turned 21. Like, as soon as I was like legally able to drink, it lost all appeal. And I got out of the Army at 21 or at 22 maybe. But I don't remember. Anyway, and then once I got out of the Army, I was working a really shitty job at a jewelry store, and I'm not gonna like waste my money on alcohol. So I just lost all interest in it, and I'm not upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever have first impression of someone in your head, and then you don't see them for a while, and you see them again, and you're like, well, that was wrong? Because I have that regularly. Or my brain misremembers my first impressions frequently. I'll be like, I remember meeting you. It was like this. And they go, no, the fuck it wasn't.
I think that's more the case. I will have a thought in my head as to how something went, or something did not go that way, but for some reason afterwards I like overthought it and then autofilled some things. And so then I'm like, they hate me, obviously. And then they come back and they're like, oh no, you're so sweet, it was so fun, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh,
good, glad. Same.
Yeah.
How long do you think does it take for a first impression of someone to be replaced by the truth of who they are?
I think it depends how often you interact with them.
Nate says he doesn't believe first impression ever goes away. I actually really like that take. It's a spicy one.
I think depending on how it goes, true.
Not for my brain, as just established. They don't exist. Right.
But if it's a good first impression and then they do something shitty, then you're like, okay, fuck you. But if it's a bad first impression and then they prove that they're not actually bad, I don't know. I don't know if I agree.
Well, I forget. I forget all the time. So I feel attacked. But I will say there's that's my average, right? That's my baseline. If I have a bestie, I will, like, a few months in, realizing, oh, we're like actually good friends now. I take the time and I pilfer through and I find that information and I make sure I got a lock and a good hold on it in my brain. If it's just like people I just meet in passing or people that I used to like, basically anyone that I would have been friends with on Facebook before I deleted it when I was like in 8th grade or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've met, therefore we will be connected in that way, but like you're not actually friends. But here's the exception. A gut instinct or like the ick, or you know what I mean? If there's not a vibe check that's passed, in that case I totally agree with Nate. Never goes away.
That is more accurate. Usually
Totally.
because a lot of times there is I was gonna say girl, but I mean it's a woman, a person that I work with who, it's kind of what we were talking about yesterday with one of the friends, uh, where everyone knows Gary and I are together at work,
Yeah.
and for some reason she just refuses to like interact with me. Like she just almost pretends that I'm not, like, that I don't exist, or she'll just like she'll be I've noticed that she's very like smiley and like almost flirty with all of the men that we work with, and it's IT, so it's mostly men.
Yeah.
Uh but then as soon as she's interacting with another woman or feminine presenting person, she just totally changes.
You
And
gotta know she listens to like a Sigma Beta Alpha podcast.
I don't
That's
I don't I don't know about all that, but like I just get such a weird vibe, and she's never been outright rude, but it feels rude because like she will literally look
Mhm.
right past me to be like, "Oh, hi, Gary."
Yeah. And you're
Okay.
like, oh man, how did my fist end up in your cheek? That's weird. Oops, I fell.
Well, no, I think it helps that her personality is not like the best, and she's kind of entitled, um,
What a
which Gary has
fascinating
seen
sentence.
firsthand. So, what?
That's a good thing.
Oh,
Just
just so that
like
I
out of context, the sentence is hilarious. Like, yeah, lucky for me, she's terrible.
Well, I just mean that like my gut reaction, the vibe check is valid,
Mhm.
because even though she has not interacted with me, she has interacted with Gary and other people that we work with, and no one is like her biggest fan.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel validated in that.
I have like 99% of the time, if I meet someone and there's an ick or there's like a vibe is off or something, years later, something will like come to surface or come to fruition, or they'll like say something. I'll be like, oh, there it is. It takes a long time, but like it takes that long for that feeling to be like justified slash like negated, where I'm not like always thinking about like, oh, what is it? Am I a bad person for feeling this way? Like, what is that? What is that? Go away. And when I find out what the thing is, I'm like, okay, fuck you. And then I'm good.
Yeah.
But there's I was gonna say there are some. I'm thinking of one particular person in my life who's like a friend of like my grandparents. And my whole life they've been around, like since I was exuded. And I've never liked her.
Exuded.
If you knew anything about my birth story, you would know that is an accurate term. But I will save you those details. Future podcast episode. Stay
Or another
tuned, folks.
podcast.
I should be writing these down while we go, and I'm not because I'm holding my paintbrush.
Just have our mothers on to talk about
Oh, no, I wouldn't want that. No, I wouldn't want that. I want it to be from our perspective because we weren't there. It'd be way funnier.
we were there.
Yes, but were we there? But were we there?
Were we like really there?
But here's the thing, right? So there's this lady, she's been around for forever, and I cannot think of anything. Okay, that's a lie. I can think of. So I've always felt this way about her, like, since meeting her as a child, just automatically never liked her. It took, like, at least 12, 15 years for her to do something that made me feel somewhat justified in my, like, hatred towards her. Because she did a really, really dumb, stupid thing. It made me mad, but I was already mad and had no reason. But here's the thing. She's had a hard fucking life and is, like, really going through it. And, like, my family will tell me, like, oh man, there's this really terrible, disgusting, horrible thing happening to her right now. And I'm like, yeah. And I feel terrible, but I'm still waiting for, like, something to come up where I'm like, why do I feel so terribly about you? And I don't know. Maybe there is something that she did or said way back when in my memories. It's been, like, totally lost forever. But it hasn't happened yet, except for that one time. Basically, she showed up to my siblings' graduation without a ticket, uninvited, to, like, the private family reception. That was the thing she did.
Yeah.
But, like, an entire lifetime of dislike, not quite there, you know?
Yeah. There are people who, like...
You're allowed to not get along with everyone, you know?
Yeah, but I don't like it. Especially when... I can't get into specifics. But especially when there's someone who, like, wants to, like, be your friend, who wants to, like, be close to you, and just way the fuck overdoes it, and then you get an ick from that.
I also don't believe those people are telling the truth.
It feels... There's a situation in my life currently where there is someone who I know, probably innocently, genuinely just, like, wants to be close with me. Not, like, physically, but, like, as a friend.
Yeah.
And but the way they go about it is not cool. And I just am... I don't think our personalities match, but it doesn't really matter to them. They just keep going at it, and I just get such weird vibes, and it's really hard. And I feel bad because it's like, technically nothing was really done wrong, but I just get so uncomfortable.
It's okay to trust your gut, though. I think, like, I always feel best when I know I can trust my gut. I've had to train myself to trust my gut more because I've been retraining my brain to think counterintuitively to this, like, worldview system that I was brought up in for the majority of my life. And very often, something from that environment will pop up in my brain and go, nope, wrong, evil, gross, sinner, disgusting. And then I have to go, no, I feel fine, and then go on. But I have to, like, take that moment to tell myself, trust your gut, you're good. I also want to read what Elusive sent us about their first impression story. Says, we met a guy who would attend house parties with our friends. He seemed pretty nice, but when he drank, he'd just get a little bit handsy. Nothing crazy, but definitely uncomfortable, so I had a bad first impression. After a bit, a few of us ladyfolk had a word with him about it, and he hadn't realized how much it had been, and instead of being pissy or never coming out again, he chose to keep coming and then never drank at the parties again to prevent the ick, and over the years became a really good friend in the group, never acted like that again, and thus ending with a good impression.
We love character development!
Oh, that's fantastic, absolutely. That is really felt. Yeah, guts being consumed by nausea. Oh, good God. Yeah, so what do we have so far? We have birth stories, couples podcast day, and what was the third topic we had for future? I don't know. We'll watch it back. We'll find out in post. But I mentioned it. It's fine. We'll find it. I had a person like that. Actually, I had two people whose impressions swapped.
Oh.
Which was crazy. So, like, Nate had this friend whose, like, bit in the group was, like, the joke was that no one liked him, but everyone does like him. But, like, that was the bit. So I had never met him, but I heard his voice on, like, calls when Nate would be playing games with them online. And so one night, like, Nate handed me the microphone set so he could go take a shit or something. And he's like, go talk to them. And I was like, and then the guy was like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I was like, oh, hi so-and-so, fuck you. Because I knew what the joke was. That was like the first thing I said to him. I was like, hi, fuck you. And like everyone laughed, like he laughed, like everyone laughed. It was felt really out of pocket. Because Nate, you know how guys are. They talk about their person. They're like, oh, they're the best. So like he made me out to be this like tiny little angel. And I was like, hi, fuck you. So, you know, it came off well. But then we ended up meeting and then also became coworkers because we're all at the restaurant together, right? And then played D&D together and all that stuff. But like when I first met him, like there was this not a full ick, because I want to reserve the ick for like really like sticky icky kind of ick. But like I didn't like him that much. I wasn't super fan of him. There was just something. There was a couple things where just like, no, I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to be around you. There's this other person who was a friend of Nate's sister, and Nate's sister is my age. We're this like the same, like we're like 6-7 months apart, something like that. Not quite the same year, but we're close in age. And this person was also our age, and they had heard about me through the grapevine and wanted to meet me and be my friend, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, cool. Here's the thing: I don't know how to become friends with people. I don't.
It's gonna happen.
I've been forced into every long-term friendship that I have, or I stumble upon it by accident and realize months into the friendship that, oh, this is a friendship now. Those are the only two things that happens. Okay. I want to share this quote from the game I'm playing, and it says, I'm going to write a full report, and it's going to be fucking laminated. I love that. I want a laminator back in my life so bad. Don't know what for. I just love them so much. If I could be back in an office, I would just do that. Get paid $5 per lamination. Make my day. But there was this girl, and like she seemed nice and friendly and like blonde and quirky and fun and whatever, like blah blah blah. And then what happened was, and it was also a coworker at the restaurant, a cook with us. And then the more time I spent with both of these people, the more I loved the first guy and then hated that girl. Like they totally just went whoop and swapped impressions. The more time I spent with them. The more time I spent with the guy, I'm like, you know what? You're like when you're not joking about this one particular thing that pisses me off, you're actually like really fun and cool to hang around with. Just don't do this one thing, and you can pass the vibe check. And then her, because at first she was like, I was being friendly, and we would go to some social gatherings with Nate's friends. Again, nothing to do with drink out there, but is like one of the worst kinds of drunk. Like puked at like her friend's parents' house, like all over the bathroom, kind of like very belligerently drunk and just a selfish person in general, pre-drinking. So it just kind of gets amplified once there's some booze going on. And she just got like, and she was bad at her job, Jen. That's the worst part. She was bad at her job. Which was the worst part, but acted like she was smarter than everyone, better than everyone, more entitled. And she comes from a very like well-off white family. And just all of it, just like over time, just corroded me. And so, but like before it ever it never reached best friend territory, not even close. Like we hung out a couple times kind of thing, and that's it. And we had each other on Snapchat, but I never sent her anything ever. She also got a Shih Tzu Chihuahua Pomeranian
rat dog
on purpose. They asked for it. They asked for it to be bred for them, and then bought it, and it was biting people since it popped out of the womb. And they're like, haha, so cute. Never trained it otherwise. Yeah, on purpose. I know, crazy. But so hated her more and more. Not just I don't like you anymore, but like hated her. And so I kind of went back to my neutral stance of just being like cold and whatever. And then she tried to do things. You telling me about your friend, your coworker person, made me think of this coworker person. Thank God is no longer my coworker, but they would like go to Sev before a shift, which would make them late, and buy us all Slurpees. For those not in the know, Slurpee put Nate into a coma. And he doesn't drink Slurpees anymore because of that, and I can't drink Slurpees because of my teeth. So we can't drink that. And then she would like go out and get us coffees or like lattes, and they'd both be filled with milk and coffee, which me and Nate can't drink. So she would go out and like spend money on things that we couldn't have that would make her late, and was trying to like buy us shit, and then would be like getting rid of stuff in their house, and because it was from her rich parents, she'd be like, "Ooh, this would be really nice. You guys should have it," and would try to like pawn off their stuff on us because they know I like would like literally dive in dumpsters to like make furniture. And so it was just like so annoying to the point where I had to stop being neutral and I just start being a bitch to get
Oh
it
man.
through to their head that like we're not friends. And they would be like, "Hey bestie," I'd be like, "Hello." Like I was so cold, Jen, and
God damn.
and it never registered. Like they're not very smart as a person, but like I was mean. I was intentionally going, "No, fuck you. You're wrong, and I don't like that." And they'd be like, "Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye." I'm like,
Every time I've tried to be that way, I think people just assume that I'm joking. So there is a specific person at work who Gary knows. Anytime this person's name is brought up, I audibly groan or I just start going on a tangent about how fucking entitled and full of themselves and just talks down to everyone who he deems as like below him, even though he literally doesn't even know how to do his job. Okay, so I for areas at my work, there are classified spaces, and so we have cell phone lockers, and you get issued a key. So you have your thank you. I have I am the one who issues the keys. I am the keeper of the keys, and this person came to me came to me and said, "Hey, do you have any lockers that are higher up on the wall?" And I was like, not at that set of lockers, but there's another set of lockers because the room that he's in has two entrances. And so this entrance is the one that he was using, and I didn't have any more locker keys for that side. But there is one for the other side. There's plenty of ones that are higher up. This man, grown ass man with a wife, with children, told me, complained loudly, and came back days in a row to check and see if I had any locker keys for specifically that side that were higher up on the wall because I keep my key on my lanyard and I can't like bend over every time I want to get my locker out or get my phone out of my locker.
you know how you have to take like a psych test in order to get a vasectomy? Where is that for having kids? Where's the
Literally
IQ
days.
test for parenthood?
Days, because he could not be bothered to bend over to unlock the locker or take his lanyard
I was
off.
about to say, what kind of lanyard are we talking about here? Because when you say lanyard, I think of a loop of thread or fabric or rope that is just draped over one's head. And if he's a man, a male,
100%.
doesn't have hair in the way or anything, just like probably a suit or some shit, because he sounds like that
You are
kind of
correct.
guy, could just take it the fuck off.
You are correct.
I'll fight him for you.
1,000%.
I'll infiltrate your top secret facility and take jail time to piss that guy off for you. Totally.
Oh my god. Yeah. So that's just the tip of the entitled asshole iceberg. And so every time he comes over to my area, he doesn't talk to me. He can tell that I don't like him.
Good.
Because I actively ignore him. I don't say things. I just actively ignore. And he came over one time, and one of my coworkers is just very obviously, especially today. Oh man, my coworker is sexist, racist, literally
Is
all
this
of
the
the
one
shit
we've talked
things.
about before?
Yes.
Okay.
Um. However, he literally wasn't doing anything at this point in time, but this guy was just talking down to him, like just being the worst. And I think I did say something along the lines of like, "Oh, it's okay. He knows how to do our job. It's okay. Yeah, no, he knows everything. Don't you know?" And so I still wasn't talking to him, but I said that out loud, and he didn't appreciate it, and he left. And then he came back when I was out of the office and got someone else to trade locker keys with him so that he could have a higher locker on that side.
Why didn't you do that on day one then?
Because nobody wanted to, because he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, sounds like an asshole.
No one likes him.
Who traded with him? They're weak. Call them.
Anyway, sorry.
No, do not. Jen, you're,
but
as Luciv said, you're in a safe space, and we're here for you.
Man-child is 1,000% correct.
Yeah. Self-care, stop. Thanks. Deep breaths and warm thoughts and no sorries.
Aw. Yeah. So, yeah. And I was going to say, for impressions, my first impressions of people are usually, I give people the benefit of the doubt, like, no matter what. And it's usually ruined by them saying something racist, sexist, homophobic, especially in my workplace, especially because I'm in the Midwest, in a mostly red state, and working with older men. So they usually just either say some inappropriate shit to me, or inappropriate shit racially or homophobic wise or transphobic wise, and that's when I'm like, nope, okay, you're a piece of shit.
I was taught to give people the benefit of the doubt. Every time I got hired at a workplace anywhere, part of their onboarding training, customer service would be like, always give customers and coworkers, managers, everyone the benefit of the doubt. And like, it was very much just a thing, you know, to just assume the best in people. It was a nice church girl thing to do. I never have. Ever. Never has that been in my default coding. Not for a second. I assume everyone is terrible, and you have to prove to me otherwise over a long-ass time. Which is why I accidentally realize later that I'm friends with someone.
Yeah.
Or that I'm best friends with someone. Like, when I'm, like, I would have my mom, and then she would meet another mom, and then they would decide for me and their child, oh, our children are the same age. Be friends.
Yeah.
And it stuck. That's how I got my best, longest friend of 20 plus years now. We celebrated our 20-year friend anniversary this last fall. Was literally just our moms meeting at church and going, our kids are the same age. And then we were just like, okay, and like would run around, and like we were attached at the hip our entire fucking lives. And then later on, at the same setting, the same year, the same building that I met Nate for the first time, that was only made possible because of another forced friendship. Get this, I show up at this arts camp for the summer, right? I pay to be there, you like sleep over at this college, and you take all different arts courses like photography, video, sound design, dance, acting, all sorts of stuff, right? I'm like, this sounds fun. Yeah. And I'd never had a camp experience, so I was like trying to do something camp adjacent for once. And I was like in high school, I was like 16, whatever. I show up, I have my bags, my mom drops me off. Who do I see down the hall? It's my father. I'm like, oh, hey Dad, what are you doing here? You getting a ride home with Mom? Did you like walk over from work? He's like, what do you mean, what am I doing here? What are you doing here? I'm like,
what?
Camp? He's like, you're doing camp? And I was like, yeah. If you're not getting a ride with Mom, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm an instructor here at the camp.
How did you guys not know?
I don't know! He had no clue that I was attending, and I had no clue that he'd been teaching there for 2.5 years already in the summers. And guess what I had registered for? All the acting classes. Guess who was teaching them? My fucking father. And I'd already taken every one of his ever, and he can give me that knowledge at home for free. So he forced me to re-register for everything because he wouldn't let me take any of his courses because he said that I either knew it all already or he could just tell me at home for free. I was paying to be there, so I had to pay to get someone else's knowledge. So that was wild. And because he was there, and I was stupid early, there was only instructors and their children. And that's it. And so he took the person teaching, like, paint or something, who also had a daughter the same age, and they went, oh, you two can walk around the college together. Well, you wait for all your students to show up. And we were 16 now. We were not 6. where we were like,
Yeah.
okay, ha 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 ha. We were like,
Yeah. It's harder to do that.
so we walked around in silence of these halls of this college for a full hour until we came across like the grad photos, the portraits, and I like laughed at one of them. I was like, look at that guy, his stupid face. And then she came over and laughed. And then from there we were good. It broke the ice and we just made fun. Like we just like talked shit
I
about
thought you were
every
gonna
grad
say
ever.
I thought you were gonna say she was like, "That's my dad."
That would have been really funny. That would have been a great plot twist. Next time I tell the story, I'll make it that. But
You're welcome.
and then so we actually did stick together all of camp, and there's a picture, and we had like reunions after of me, her, and Nate, and there's a picture of me, Nate, and her at the Apple store for when we were 16, and Nate had his big fro. Hi, what's that? Oh, Nate has finished cooking supper, and the way he's announced it is by bringing me my lactate pills. How many we talking, dear? 2? So it's a scale of 1 to 3. Okay, he's sticking with 2. So because I was friends with her, I became friends with Nate because she had met him the year before. But even then, I was very much forced to be friends with her, and it was very awkward and terrible.
I don't think I've ever been forced to be friends with people. None of my parents ever like had friends.
Oh.
So, like my father was an introvert, and all of his friends either did not have children or were like significantly younger or older. So we never like got along. Or like I guess my mom lived in an apartment complex, and I became friends with the girl who lived like 2 apartments over.
The literal girl next door, got it?
Yeah. But she also was a child of divorce, so she was only at her father's house like a couple weekends out of the year. And so I didn't see her very much, but we ended up adding each other once we were both old enough for Facebook, so that was cute. But um I think that's really it. Otherwise, like all of my friends were made, I guess they were kind of forced because it was all just like um people at school. Like one of my best friends that I had in high school, he lived 3 houses down from me, and we rode the bus together. We walked to school together. And he was just kind of always around because he was 3 houses down from me. Um, and then once I like left my hometown, we barely spoke. So it's mostly that. And then people that I was friends with in the army, we were around each other all the time. But then once we would go to a different duty station, we mostly just wouldn't speak because we weren't forced to interact all the time anymore.
Right.
So all of the friendships that I have made or rekindled as an adult, I think I appreciate those a lot more because it's like, okay, yes, I have chosen to maintain this as an adult. We have chosen to make time for each other when we don't have to. And
Yeah.
I think I think that is a little more meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm always really thankful when people like yourself are my friend because, like mentioned previously, I suck at being friends and making friends. Like it doesn't come naturally to me. I have to expend a lot of mental energy to try to, especially in the early days of like knowing someone for the first time, navigate just conversations without exploding. I would love a diagnosis this year, but we'll see. We'll see. But like it's hard and scary, and like even at work, right? I've been there for 3 months, but I still can like barely get a read on like the people there. Like I have a really hard time reading people. I can like read the room really well. You know what I mean? Like if there's a vibe in the room somewhere, I can catch that vibe like it's the cold, no problem. But if it's like a specific person, not so much. And I'll sometimes like be at home or on the bus leaving work, and I'll be thinking about whether or not my tone sounded friendly enough when I said see you tomorrow to them or when I said goodbye. And I was like, oh shit, should I have said see you tomorrow instead of okay bye? or see you later? Would that have been friendlier? Was that the wrong thing to say? Like, and I'm processing that. So when someone does decide, okay, I've decided your initial weirdness is an okay amount for us to continue to talk. I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, oh my God, don't fuck this up. Don't. All I ever wanted my whole life is to have friends. Oh, that's a good stream request. A Gay Awakenings podcast.
Ooh.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Totally adding to the list. The older I get, the less I crave friendship. Oh, I relate to that in a kind of sense. I don't like knowing people, but I like having best friends. I'm so abundantly grateful for Jen in my life. You have no idea. I've never had a friend who has the same like opinions and stances on the world and life while not also having children and religion or some big thing in their life that separates us like a gorge. Like, we're in the same place in life and we feel the same way about life and have very similar trajectories for our lives. And I'm excited that there is someone like that who wants to hang out with me and that we can walk that path together. That's awesome. I want that. Or like, I have Nate. I would never. Jen is amazing. I would never.
I'm gonna cry.
I like don't want to find new friends. I would never want to date again. I'm like, I have the people that I have, and I want to be with those people for forever, intimately and deeply. The end. That's it. I don't want like casual friendships. I don't want that. I've never wanted that, but I agree that I want that less and less. I crave that less and less. When I was younger, all I wanted were friends so bad, and no one to be a friend because I was a weirdo. Still am a weirdo, but like they were like bullies about it, and I just so desperately wanted friends. And now that I'm older, I'm like, no, I don't want a lot of people. I just want a few really good people. Like if I were to count my best friends, there's like this many, not counting. No, including Nate. Yes, I have this many best friends.
And it's up to y'all to figure out which one you are.
Well, no, like I want best friends, I want close friends, but I don't want casual friendships. It's exhausting and annoying, and it's all the further you get away from closeness in like a friendship relationship, the less I understand it. So like a party type of social circle, you know what I mean? Or like a house party, or like concerts, or like events where you have to like you just show up, or like a mixer. And I'm like, Spud, you can be my sixth finger anytime.
Spud actually, like, I wish I was better friends with them and their friend group when I was in high school. They went to a different high school, but we were all pretty much friends in middle school, and I really, really wish that I would have stayed better friends with all of them.
All of them?
With most of them.
Okay.
Because I think that, like, they're all just genuinely, like, really fucking good ass people. Instead of the friends that I made and chose to keep that were like that ended up not being good people, like, at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I just feel like I wasted so much time with those people because I felt like they like needed me, and I like they needed so much help, they needed so much like emotional support, and I was like, I will give that to you, that means that you will like me, right?
Yeah.
And I just wasted so much time with that I didn't allow myself to make those actual quality friendships, which like sucks, but some of them I have like rekindled friendships with, which feels fucking amazing. And I think that if I reached out to them now, I feel like we would talk and be friendly, and it would be fine. But it's not ever going to be like it could have been, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
You know it's not the same. Copyright strike. Boom. It was just too close.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I think middle school, I would agree. High school, fuck that shit. I have not spoken to a single person in my graduating class, which was 12 people, including me. Count them. And I was the only white girl who was Canadian.
Loretta, it's 3 because your husband is from high school too.
Spud wants to hang out. Make it happen.
Spud, you're Oh, I wish we got to hang out more. Yeah. It was so funny though. Oh my god. I don't know if I ever told Spud this before. Most of all my friends were Asian. But I don't know if I ever told you this before, but there was one time that Spud's, I think, stepbrother. You're in Kansas now. I thought you were in a different country. I thought you were in like Korea.
We are watching a rekindling of a new chapter of friendship right now, live on our podcast. Look at that, bringing people together.
Aww. Anyway, I think it was his stepbrother or maybe his half brother. I don't know. Like catcalled me while I was walking my dogs one day.
Oh.
And it was super fucking awkward because he was like way older, and I don't know if he like remembered who I was, but it was weird.
That is weird.
In November, I didn't know that. Are you at Fort? I don't want. I mean,
you don't have to answer anything.
I'm not trying to dox you.
You don't have to answer anything you don't answer. You know, I had a very small grad class and haven't talked to a single one of them since, with the exception of a very, very, very brief Facebook Messenger message.
1 year older?
Oh. You're like, he's ancient and crusty and hit on me.
Well,
like 1 year.
He was crusty. I don't know it. I don't know him anymore, but I just remember it being super creepy.
There are a couple middle school girls who they were the year below me that I had really good relationships with. Not really the kids in my class as much. And I have like 2 of them on Instagram still because I went private because fuck people. They're the worst. And I would love to reconnect with them if I had time for anything ever. I would really love that. But I wouldn't do that expecting, like, you know, pick up exactly where we left off or to just immediately become regular besties. It would be this satiated my curiosity as to, you know, where we've gone. Do you have, here's a question for elusive / Jen / just generally. You having a friend that was like your one friend, you see each other like once every 5 years. I have a friend like that, and we were very close when we were younger. And now that we're adults, we see each other again, maybe like every 3 to 5 years. But it's consistent every 3 to 5 years when we do get back in touch. And it's not like, I can't believe you've never spoken to me. Where have you been? Neither of us are like that. It's just like, hey, yeah, bro, what's up? Catch me up. And it's like a good kind of pace. Like, do you have people like that?
I mean, I guess Loretta. Like we didn't see each other for a hot ass minute, and then we hung out, and it was great. And then I got a new job and got super fucking busy, and now I barely talk to anybody. So.
And now you have a new extra busy job.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I would say probably Loretta, but otherwise, like. Either I have learned more about these people and we do not speak to each other that much anymore, or like it just doesn't happen in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Things not happening in my brain. Now that's some relatable content right there.
Yeah, because you know, with my official diagnosis of ADHD.
No see, no exist.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Total, like, out of sight, out of mind. And it happens with family. And that sucked for a while. And I had family members take it, like, super, super, super personally. And I felt super bad. But I also, like, I truly didn't mean to. And so that definitely happens with friends also. And I feel really bad about it.
It's the only reason I have Snapchat. Genuinely. It feels like it feels like a brain hack for me. If I don't really use it outside of, like, I don't like look at people's stories and like post to maps. I don't like use Snapchat, you know what I mean? It is just a messenger for people that I want to stay connected to that I don't see. Plus Nate. like you're on there, Art's on there. Like I have a couple people that I consider, or like I have girlfriends that are in the same city as me, but that we never fucking see each other because schedules are backwards, opposite in the city. You know what I mean? Like, we are the sixth largest city in Canada. We're no Toronto, but we're big-ish, you know? And there's no time for that. But we have a snap streak, so I at least see their face, like, once a day or see their name once a day. Even just seeing the name. Because, like, how many times we just snap each other a fucking photo of our ceilings from when we were in bed with a timestamp on it and boom. But I saw your name today. That means you entered my mind. So, like, that's why I have Snapchat. And will probably
Like,
never be able to get rid of it. Because there's something about, especially the streak, that having a streak with someone as well is different from just me trying to remember to text someone every day. I have to snap for me to maintain those relationships. I have to.
yeah. Well, and I was gonna say like a more like not a more practical thing, but I saw a thing on TikTok, and now I don't keep my produce in the drawer, in the chiller drawer
Yeah.
anymore. Like it's on a main shelf so that I can see it and it doesn't go bad.
I bought a thing for that. It's like a little green liner you can like put under your produce so it keeps it a little bit fresher longer in the fridge. And so I have that on my shelf now. But I do have to also use the drawer. And I wasn't using it before we moved here, but now that I have this stupid terrible fridge, I literally have to, otherwise nothing will fit.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary
like,
and I actually had that conversation the other day. He's like, I totally understand that this is what helps your brain. However, we have to use the drawers for something.
And also I find produce goes bad faster outside of the crisper drawer. So we have to use it like really, really quick. Also, is it a friendship if it's exhausting? I personally consider it to be a relationship, maybe, or maybe we're cohorts or not companions, co-workers, sure. But if a relationship is exhausting to me, I do not file that information as a friendship. For me, like sure, I could be tired and be drained from social interacting that day, but if that person in general is an exhausting or draining source in my life, I won't keep them around. I won't consider them a friend. I don't want that. It kind of touches on what you were talking about earlier, where like, as Elusive said, the emotional leeches or emotional vampires, where it's just take, 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 take. That's not a relationship. Like, every relationship should be, you know, both ways, both giving, both taking. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, just like, you know, a good friendship.
Yeah.
Like with my bestie, we've had multiple conversations about our relationship, like in our 20 years of friendship. Like I moved away to a different province, and that was really fucking hard. And we had to figure out how I was going to be better at communicating and making the effort to stay connected, because it was really, really hard. So we would have those conversations to make sure that we were both, you know, having our needs met in our friendship, but in a friendship way. Or even the other day, really she texted me, she goes, hey, we don't really hang out outside of D&D a whole lot. Can we pick a date? I was like, yeah, man, totally. You know? So there's that communication there. But I would never consider that exhausting. I don't want anyone in my life that's exhausting all the time. And I would never consider them a friend.
I'm gonna say, I think I can see where Loretta's coming from with that, though, because it's like if you are forcing yourself to interact on the days that you're like socially exhausted, because like somebody like me who just like feels too bad to not interact if someone's reached out to me, even if I'm exhausted, it's like, oh, this person like needs a little interaction, so I'm gonna do that. And that I can see as exhausting, especially like with like chronic illness and stuff. Like you're already fucking exhausted, so sometimes you just don't have anything left to give to other people. So it's not necessarily the friendship itself that's exhausting, it's like life in general, and then you are forcing yourself to have that for fear of the other person getting upset. But maybe the person isn't going to get upset, but you don't really like try, or like you don't give them the chance to say whether or not they are.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm realizing more and more as we talk about this topic how I'm probably a very selfish person because I used to be the yes person so much that the pendulum has swung the totally opposite direction for me now, where I'm proud of me, but I'm also trying to get better at like finding that balance. But I was the yes man. I was the emotional crutch for everyone. I was the mom friend. I was the DD. I like was always the reliable, whatever you need, anything, I'm there. You know, I was that person always in every circle I was in. And it almost killed me. No hyperbole. And
Jesus.
so now, like, I had to really learn how to say no. And now I very frequently will, my default is, nope, can't do that. Don't have energy, don't have time. Nope, not going to make time. No, 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 no. And I say no, 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 no all the time. But then every so often that voice comes in and goes like, do you need to say yes to this kind of thing? An example that comes to mind, I'll share like really quickly, is my dad sent me a text asking if I could call my brother and give him a little pep talk about how important his grades are. Um, because my dad wanted me to tell my brother how right he was because he saw, like, my dad had the exact same philosophy with me. And he's like, look how good you turned out. And I was having a panic moment of, wow, this was years ago, I should mention, by the way. Like, this is years ago now. We're good. But I was like, holy shit, that's not what happened. I had to go to therapy to undo that. It caused a lot of trauma and like really bad things. And I actually disagree with you on every front. And I don't want to tell him that. And so I had to, but it wasn't just, so my therapist encourages me to like be willing to have those like crucial conversations or those growth conversations, but when I'm ready. And we had already talked about the fact that I was not ready to have that conversation yet. But it was brought up to me, and my brother's well being was on the line. And so I sat there and I wrestled. Nate helped. But I had to decide, you know what? No, this is going to suck for me, and it's going to be really hard. But this is not for my sake. It's for my brother's sake, and it's okay to do this for his sake this one time because it's really fucking important right now. And it took me 3 hours to write out my message to him and some pre-typed responses for questions I anticipated he had, and 9 out of 10 of them were correct. And then I called him and had the conversation, and he was like, oh, like, I really appreciate you telling me this. Like, I had no idea. And was like super fucking receptive and just like super loving and caring about it, and not at all like how I was scared of it going. And he said that he was going to reflect on that before talking with my brother. And I was like, after, and I cried. I was like, Nate, I did it, oh my god. But that was like one of the few circumstances I can remember willingly going, fine, I'll say yes. But it was for, if I, it felt like an urge, like a sense of urgency. Like, I feel like if it's not an emergency or an urgent thing, I will say no now, because I care about my own self a little bit more, I guess. And I didn't think I did. I thought I hate myself just as much as I used to, but that indicates that I don't. So good job. Good job, me.
Hey.
I still want to say
trying.
yes, but I don't.
Yeah. I'm working on it. My Shelby and I, my therapist, are working on it because there are a lot of times where people aren't like asking me outright for things, but I just am anticipating that they will. So I'm, hey, I can do this. I can help you with this. Blah blah blah. But it's not like I don't have to do that. Like, these people that care about me are not going to stop caring about me because I am not literally going so the fuck out of my way to do things or take care of things or whatever for them.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I feel like the happy medium is to offer your help in a context where you know the offer will not ever be called upon. You can feel good about offering and being there, but also confident that your well-being and time and mental capacity will not be infringed upon. But you can say, I offered. That was so nice of me. Aw, Spud still cares about you, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks for randomly showing up on Twitch one day. I don't even know how. Maybe Instagram? I don't know. I appreciate you. Or Facebook.
A place on the internet.
Yeah. Where I was like, I'm almost at affiliate. Follow me.
Bro, internet first impressions, whole other thing.
Oh God, yeah.
But I'm very pessimistic.
Well, I again, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but I try not to like assume that they're like the best person ever in the world. It's always just like they posted this thing. Maybe I am not like maybe I don't have the full context of whatever they're talking about. And then sometimes I do, and then I get sad.
Mm. Yep, sometimes you're like, oh, that is multiple slurs. I see.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, that's how it be sometimes.
Yes. Yes, that is how it be.
I can't wait to go through tonight's episode and find the 5 to 6 different episode ideas we have for the next one.
I hope you were typing them on the Google Doc because
No, I haven't. I'm going to have to rewatch this whole VOD back when I'm editing audio and just write it down as we go. As soon as you put this paintbrush in my hand, because I make you responsible for this, my fingers were occupied.
the whole time.
Yeah.
But it helps. It helps my brain.
So it's the fact that it's a brush, because like I have like pencils and I have really old concealer that's definitely expired. I have markers. I have clips. But the brush has the soothing.
Yeah, it's nice. I've also been like dusting my keyboard with it.
Me too. I used to use this on my face, and I don't anymore. But if I did, I would definitely have to clean it. Because now I've shoved it in the dirty crevices where I'm sure there's food pieces and particulates. Here we'll close off our podcast recording with our outro, and then we can do. I think we have some good raid targets tonight. So if we want to raid out, because we did not last time because there was literally no one live, that would be great because it's been a hot minute.
I literally haven't been on Twitch since the last time we did this, so.
I was on Twitch on Saturday. But before
that absolute insane bullshit that happened. Not well, good bullshit.
Like you say insane bullshit, but you're talking about Glow's birthday.
good bullshit.
Thanks for listening, listeners. Good job listening. You're doing a great job. Whatever it is you're doing while listening, I'm sure it's great, and you're great. You can find Jen on Twitch at Genthar_Prime, and myself on all platforms, YouTube and Twitch, at XylaStreamz with a Z.
And remember, touch some grass, eat some ass, pet your cats, and have a laugh. Don't take life too seriously, and we will see you next time on the podcast
that definitely has a name.